Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. So today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and we will be talking about guilting and trading our SP Donald and Goofy medal. So this was one of the event rewards from the high score challenge that just happened, and as some of you may have seen from the SP Sora video, I was lucky enough to break top 1000, meaning I did get 2 copies of the 3-orbed versions. Now, just in general, for anyone who has 2 copies of a 3-orbed version, remember to combine the 2 copies with the orbs first. That way you get the guilt roll, and then everything after that is a guilt re-roll for higher. So we're going to go ahead and talk about this medal here. So, you know, it actually makes more sense if we guilt it first. So let's go ahead and combine our 2 3-star versions. Let's do it the old lucky way here. And for this medal particularly, we're going to want to get a trait that is damage dealing. So as you guys see from the effect here, it does 6 powerful hits, and it has a huge multiplier, a 4.05 multiplier. For those of you who have been playing the game for a long time, this is very similar. I think it's just the upright speed version of the Meowjesty medal that we got way back in the day. And back then, it was super strong because it had that 4.25 multiplier. Granted, it did do, as you see in the special attack, it's a random hitter, meaning that it hits enemies randomly. So if you go into a field of like 5 Heartless, it could hit each one once, it could hit one multiple times, it could hit just one 6 times, and that's it. So really, this medal is really good for when you're singling out one enemy. So some of the quests require that you run into something like a defender or something like an armed warrior, which is one enemy, and you pretty much channel all the power from a random hitting medal into one enemy, because there are no other enemies around. So that's what these medals are particularly good for. They're damage pushing. So to that extent, the trait that we want is going to be either ground or aerial minus 60 damage in raids, or to a lesser extent strength plus 1000. But hopefully we get into one of those damage in raids or one of the minus 60 traits here. So let's go ahead and roll for guilt and our first trait. You know, honestly, these Tron ones, I really like the Tron outfits for these characters. Alright, so our guilt roll, we are still in the guilt campaign, so it's going to be over 70. 98! Wow! Ooh, do we even need to... Well, I guess we're going to have to trait reroll maybe, but man, 98, that's a really good start. It gets us really close to that 100 and that extra 5 levels of Nova. So for the trait roll, we're going to get... Sleep resistance. You know, all night I've been doing some rolls just for fun with like event medals and stuff like that, stuff I already had, and I have just only been getting sleep, paralysis, and poison resist, as well as max gauges. So let's see if that's a trend that's going to continue with the next medal. If it is, I'm just going to stop here, wait till my luck resets for pretty much ground or aerial minus 60, and then we'll go from there. So we get one more trait roll for the time being, and if it's not a good trait, we're just going to hold here and then just go again later. So let's go ahead and guilt reroll. Again, it's really high. I honestly don't even expect it to even jump up by even a few percentage points, just because, man, 98 out of 100 is really lucky. Alright, of course it wasn't going any higher, but for our trait roll... See, there it is, poison resist. Alright, we're going to stop here right now, because it really feels like when you do a bunch of rolls in a row, the traits tend to be roughly in the same general, like, vicinity. So this one, I'm getting a bunch of resists. One of the times I was getting a bunch of ground and aerials. Another time I was getting... No, who am I kidding? I never got extra attack multiple times in a row. But yeah, we're going to stop here, actually. And then we're just going to go straight into our damage test. So for this for this medal particularly, because it is a damage pushing medal, it's best suited for a very high multiplier on a speed Keyblade. So for example, our Sleeping Lion is honestly an excellent candidate to test this guy out. So let's go ahead and fish out our, here it is, So this is no skill, and no extra bonus attack trait like ground or enemy defense minus 60, any of those. Sorry about that. But let's go ahead and test this guy out. So we need to change our setup because unfortunately something doesn't have any SIDS on it. What do we want to test it out with? Because I feel like I want to give you guys a test that is sort of relatable, but at the same time sort of not. So let's go ahead and go into our quests. So let's see if we have a snowman up, because usually the snowmans are it's a good damage tester, just because the snowman is so beefy that I don't have to worry about it. And because Coliseum has a 0 AP requirement now, I can just keep going into it as many times as I want. Alright, so here we go. We're gonna go ahead and test the damage on this thing. No skills or anything like that first. So we're just gonna go straight into the fight, skip all the medals, and go straight to the Donald and Goofy medal, which I'm honestly expecting to, on a level 750 snowman, do nothing. Okay, so here we are at our SP Donald and Goofy medal. Let's see if it does anything. Nope. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. So even though it has a ridiculous guild, a ridiculous multiplier, without any sort of buffing, it's gonna do essentially nothing. So that was kind of a bad test. So let's go ahead and actually beef up our Donald and Goofy here and see if we could push for a little bit more damage. Alright, so we have the Kairi, the Sora Kingdom Hearts 3 EX, the key art 3 with extra attack on it, as well as the copy key art. So that's going to give us a total of 5 strength buffs, I believe 3 speed buffs, and then give the enemy, what is that, -4 defense buffs and -3 speed buffs. So let's go ahead and just give it a test here. It's so crazy how overpowered Coliseum can get when you don't have ground -60 or anything like that. Ground or aerial -60, or you don't have double cast on a -2 defense, general defense down. All right, so we're starting to actually do some damage, which is a nice feeling. And let's see how much this SP Donald and Goofy will do to our snowman, if anything. Oh, nice. Okay, it's hitting some pretty decent damage. Alright, so it's a solid damage test. I guess a giant snowman was not a good test subject to see how far that medal would go. But in general, it is a really useful medal if you don't have any heavy-hitting green ones. Especially because, like what I said earlier, if you only have to run into one target, you pretty much concentrate all of the attack on that. So that's a 4.25 multiplier with a maximum of 100% guilt, running into one enemy versus the random spray where it would hit a bunch of random enemies. Because again, there's only one enemy, all the attacks are going to go to that one. So that is really, in my opinion, one of the most powerful parts about these random targeting medals. Another good thing about them is that if you run into a field of enemies, and let's say one of them is really strong, like one of them is a defender and the others are like some shadows, using a random target medal will allow you to knock out those weak Heartless while at the same time giving a few hits into the big one. So let's say you had a single target medal, all the attack would be concentrated on that enemy, even if you overpower it significantly enough to knock it out, and then you're wasting attack. With the random target ones, you're able to not only jab at the big enemy, but be able to knock out the small ones as well. So that's not a mechanic that you see a lot, but it is an option for those of you that are looking into it. But with that being said, I am not going to trait roll anymore tonight. I have just the most uncanny feeling. I'm only going to be rolling into into pretty much the resistance traits, and then max gauge is +2, because that's how my past, like, 5 rolls with the Pooh Tigger and Rabbit medals went. So we're going to stop here, and maybe we will try again later. But for now, this was my quick damage test and guilt and trait roll and discussion about the SP Donald and Goofy medal. If you guys have any questions or you guys want me to talk about anything else, please feel free to leave a comment below, and then I will get back to it as soon as I can. But until next time, guys, take it easy.